Oh, hello. I'm R.L. Stein. I write the Goosebumps books.
Viewer beware, you're in for a scare.
Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. You probably can't see me that well either because of the window right here. But this will all make sense later. This will make sense for the last one, so... Ow.
So Margaret sends her mother off as she worries about her dad, who's been acting weird as of lately. Turns out he's been fired from his job as he's a botanist. He studies plants. There you go. Life lesson of the day, study of the day. But the mom justifies it, saying that he's trying to prove to the university that it was a mistake to fire him.
Considering you're a guy who studied plants, I think the reason you got fired was because you made weed.
Margaret still thinks something's wrong as the mother leaves. So Martha and her brother, Casey, go down to the basement where their dad is.
Stay out of the basement!
So the dad drives the mom to the airport and the kids go to the basement. Actually, they go down to the basement, they hear noises coming from there. Oh god, it's Little House of Horrors. Margaret thinks they're alive as a hentai almost happens and the dad arrives. Casey leaves his sweater down there as he goes to get it and Margaret distracts him. I kind of thought she was, but she keeps watch as Casey's being locked from his shirt. Unclear motives from the plant. The dad's like, did you go down there? And they're like, we heard some weird shit down there. But the dad's like, did you go down there? And they're like, yes. And the dad's like, family meeting. Even though I should feed you to my hentai plant.
Why the hell did you make this scene so suspenseful? Just grab it and go. You don't need to be like, okay.
He sums it up to taking genes from other plants and making them to one. But instead, he's doing something else with the genes that he can't say just yet. And he goes back downstairs to the basement. We cut to the next day where Margaret is setting breakfast for her dad that never comes up as Casey goes outside to play. Margaret stays behind as she watches the dad with the now sick blue cap on eating some green goo and chugs a thing of water. He goes back to the basement as Margaret finds the container that he was eating, and it's actually plant food.
She still needs me.
Mom, I can't explain it.
But I've just got this really bad feeling about Dad.
Hi, honey. Everything okay?
Margaret wakes up to find her dad jerking off. It sounds like it, but it's really just him in the bathroom cleaning up the mucus wound. Oh, also, he has some lettuce in his hair, like, literally on his head. But she's nearly caught as she pretends she's asleep in her room, where she tells Casey about her findings from last night.
I think Dad's a mad scientist.
Oh no, because he's a mad scientist that oozes mucus. It couldn't be that, oh, he's an alien. He could be using these plant monsters to actually, I don't know, take over the human world with these. But nah. You know, I'd actually believe this more if, like, you told me it was the mad scientist from my hairiest adventure.
The dad calls him down to have some breakfast, and Margaret tells him what she saw, as he literally pulls a story from his ass about his hair, with that it's an experiment gone wrong. Cut on his arm? It's just plant juice. And he's working on creating a plant that is part animal.
And then he tries to feed this green mucus to them.
How about some breakfast?
But saved by the bell with Mr. DeMar coming up to check on the dad as he goes downstairs and the kids are told to go play outside. But the kids can hear the two of them fighting from outside as one of the plants goes to attack Casey and... Good! So back to Casey being attacked by the hentai. Margaret saves him as they go back towards the area they were attacked. Dumbasses. As the dad asks them what they're doing, and Casey's like, we heard you guys fighting. And he's like, no, Mr. Mark and I did not have a fight, and he left. But Dad's a fucking liar and basically becomes defensive, and he's like,
Are you interrogating me, Margaret?
No.
Now you tell me, what were you doing next to the basement window?
I was playing like you told me to.
Did you put him up to this, Margaret? Is this some more of your spying?
We were playing.
Hey, You told me to stay out of the basement, and even when I am out of the basement, I still get attacked by these stupid fucking plant monsters.
They're sent to their rooms as the dad is doing more work down in the basement. Later on in the night, the kids hear a noise and go out and investigate, and it's Dad's drilling a lock to the basement. Or I have a better one. Buy a lock and a key for the door so that way you can lock them out, and open it with a key so that way you can get out, but they can't get in. Dad says he's going to be gone for a while as Margaret calls Mom. Good idea, but for some reason the paper Mom left is gone as they can't call Mom and decides to check Dad's mess of a room. The phone rings as it turns out to be Mr. DeMarc's wife, who says he was supposed to be home a while ago and hasn't returned. Spooky. This confirms their suspicions, but suddenly Dad's back. Wait, didn't he say?
I'm going out for a little while. I'll be back in a couple of hours.
Either plant time is really fast in this world, or time itself does not exist.
Casey tries to play it cool as their dad's like, "Did you go into my room?" And Margaret hides under the bed as the dad goes into his with randomly worms falling to the ground and same with Mr. DeMarc's wallet. The dad leaves again as Margaret tells Casey what she saw.
There's something under these covers.
What?
It's like the bed that eats. Oh God. Or actually, it reminds me of his other book series, Go Eat Worms.
So they armor up and open up the lock to the basement with some of the plants have mutated to look like they have human body parts. It's no wonder they start to attack the kids. A knock on the door reveals the dad, who is bound and duct taped as Casey reminds Margaret that the dad left a while ago. The dad reveals that he'd been stuck in there for days, and the thing that looks like him is a plant. Margaret unties him as the dad grabs the crowbar because the other dad is back. So naturally, they don't know who is the real one, so they decide to threaten both with the plant killer, and the real dad calls her princess, and the plant dad is killed. So the dad gives the plant away to Mr. DeMarc and shaves his head because of the side effects. Of what? I think it was supposed to be the lettuce on his head, but maybe? The dad tells us how it happened as he cut his hand on a slide that it got into some of the plant molecules, and the plants become part human.
I love how chill the mom is. The mom's like, well, you never told me. And the dad's like, yeah, if I did tell you, you'd put me in a psych ward. Actually, kind of bringing something up here. How is it like now living as a part plant man now? Like, that's going to be part of your life, buddy.
Dr. Merrick dries off with the plants as they go inside to eat some burgers, with Margaret staying to tie her shoe that reveals...
Margaret. Margaret, help me. Please help me. I'm your father. I'm your real father.
Oh, I'm your father. No, I'm your father.
And a couple other things here that I kind of want to address. Like, one, Margaret cut her hand, and the plant dad was like, you didn't cut your hand, did you? And then, like, she's like, no. And then, like, nothing happens with that. So is she part plant now? Or is, like, her DNA from there still in there? And also, if the plants are still talking, that means now that he's everywhere. Your dad now has given birth to flower children. Possibly, I don't know how this actually works, but who cares? Let's get to the next one. It came from beneath the sink.
So our characters for the day, Kate and Daniel, are moving into a new place with their family, and Daniel's friend Carlos coming to help. Kate monologues that everyone's happy to move in the new house except for the moody teen cat. And yes, they do have a dog named Killer. Killer begins to claw the cabinet that is under the sink and finds a kitty under there, but it actually turns out not to be a cat, but whatever the fuck this is.
Is that a fucking sponge with glowing eyes and teeth? We're getting to Attack of the Killer Donuts weird.
Yeah, and it also moves without any reason as her parents come to see what's wrong, and it turned out to be a normal sponge.
My china!
No.
Oh, my mother gave me these dishes.
Considering that this china must not have been that important to have you, like, not been too worried about it, I'm gonna call bullshit on that.
Also, fun fact before we continue, the girl Kat is so familiar to me that I actually looked it up. She's from Freddy vs. Jason, as same was Gib, and also played Carrie, Josie and the Pussycats, and Ginger Snaps. And also the brother Daniel is Guy Lanning from Total Drama and Edgar from American Pie. The sponge sneaks up to Kat's room when the mirror is messed up, and most likely from rubbing her face so much, like, holy hell, someone clean this mirror, this bothers my OCD. And the sponge appears on the towel rack, making Kat knock over a glass where her brother Daniel steps on it. She tries to tell him what happened, but who the fuck would believe that? You could have just said you knocked over the glass and it would have been fine. While Kate is asleep, however, the sponge is under the bed and Killer goes to get it, and it cuts to the next day where Kate goes to find him. She goes to the woods and that her brakes don't work and ends up flipping over a tree.
You know, bikes with back brakes are pretty common, so it's not like you didn't know. Or maybe you did have them. Well, you'd actually have front brakes. Well, actually, I grew up with a bike with no front or back brakes, so you're a big fucking baby.
The boys watch Welcome to Camp Nightmare. How odd. Nothing's been going right since she found that sponge. And right on cue, the sponge is in her bike helmet, and they decide to bury it in a hole.
I like my idea better. How about we cut and or burn it?
The next day, however, everything looks to be dying in the backyard. So the most logical thing is to take it to someone who knows what to do with it. So a scientist to do the trick. She decides to keep it as the sponge, this fucking sponge, is telepathic and breaks a beaker. Like, what? Back at home, Carlos figures out that the sponge is something called a gruel, which is a bad luck charm. Feeding on the bad luck it causes, and the more bad luck it causes, the stronger it gets. And its weakness? But there is one thing to add.
Why don't we just mail it to the North Pole or drop it in the ocean or something?
Not a good idea. If the owner gives the gruel away, the owner dies.
I must be the owner. I'm the one that found it.
That's right. Lucky thing you dug it up from the garden.
Oh, but I left it with Miss Vanderhoff at school.
You what?
Actually, if I eat it and it kills me, does that mean I killed it as well, or does that mean that it still killed me? So, in fact, it won and can move on.
They realize mailing it doesn't mean mailing it. Rush back to see the science teacher as the sponge has stuck into the janitor's cart as the kids look for it. The janitor comes into the science room as the lights go out. And I swear to God, I've never seen a man pass themselves out like this.
You either have very low iron or you're just the dumbest, because how the... Oh, yep, nope. I don't know how you managed to do this, buddy.
The kids check up on the janitor. He's fine. As when Kate goes to get some acid, which was a good idea until there wasn't any, and instead there was just a sponge, making the whole cabinet knock over.
Cat! Watch out! Cat, are you alright?
The CGI sponge begins to grow, as Daniel says.
The door's blocked! We're trapped! And that thing!
Or, observe.
They decide to go out the window. How tall is the school? As they accidentally unplug.
It's his tape player.
When it's a Walkman. And the sponge shrinks because it causes bad and only likes bad. So good is its poison to him. But because Daniel fucked up the Walkman, I don't know how, but they decide to compliment it instead.
Of course! Brilliant! Kill it with kindness.
The sponge begins to grow again because the chemicals as the janitor wakes up and uses the fire hydrant to make it shrink. Because logic. And since she can't kill it, she keeps it and makes it listen to music, most likely until it dies. Hell, even Killer comes back. Kinda, though. I kinda thought he ate him. But good for me. And guess what he got her?
A potato?
Worst episode so far of this season. And yes, I'm saying the last season, because last episode I actually thought I was on the last one, but I wasn't, so my bad. I mean, I'm still glad that this cast went to do bigger and better things, but I don't understand how people could have watched it after this. It's a killer sponge. It's fucking killer SpongeBob. This isn't every nightmare, I guess. Someone's nightmare, an inanimate object being killer. So she basically unleashes it onto her worst enemies, I guess. I don't even know. So, I guess for the next one, we actually have a very popular star coming up next. So, say cheese!